is so interesting and so secret that certain elements of the United States government wanted to keep it secret even from their political leaders. And they've been working underground for years and years and years, and heaven only knows what they've accomplished, but in my opinion, it would be a very great deal. And certainly one of the things that I want to know is whether in fact they have developed exotic fuels like zero-point energy and cold fusion, as some people who have worked there have indicated that they have, because this is the way that we could transform our world in a time frame of maybe 10 years or so, and save it from global warming. And of course, the other thing I say in the book is that even if that is not true, that the extraterrestrials would give us that technology if we asked them to, because they want us to save our world as a habitable place for ourselves and for their visits.
These are some very incredible witnesses, and Stephen Greer, you mentioned the Disclosure Project of 2009, where he has military people, apart from military intelligence people who are involved. So this is a real cover-up. It's not something we're inventing, and it's very complicated, Paul, isn't it? Because the United States government still has not admitted that Roswell was real. We're still at a mogul balloon with crash test dummies.
No, they're still maintaining the fantasy that it was a balloon, and it's, and so many people know that that's a lie. In the case of the Roswell crash, for example, they still claim that it didn't happen, but there were witnesses of all kinds who say it did, and the cover-up was in fact a lie, and that's what I call it in my book. And they started working on reverse engineering immediately after that, and had some of the best brains in the United States working on it, and have had ever since. So the distance they have come in 60 years or more is I'm sure, incredible, and that they have developed probably spaceships, and they have probably developed exotic fuels, and there are all sorts of things that the United States people and the people of the world have a right to know about. And that's the reason that we should never give up until there is full disclosure. But this has to be done by Congress. This has to be done by the people who have been funding them without knowing what they were funding, because it's not something that one person would want to undertake on their own, say the president, for example, because I think it's just too dangerous. But then once they decide to go this route, they should grant an amnesty, as Jim Sparks suggested after talking to the extraterrestrials, so that people will be able to talk honestly under oath and not fear the consequences if they have committed some sort of major or minor crime in the course of their careers.
Now, Edgar Mitchell, Apollo 14 astronaut, has gone before the Washington Press Club and said Roswell was real, that he was briefed, plus the fact that we had the 2001 Disclosure Project in Washington, D.C., all those witnesses that Stephen Greer brought together. We couldn't have more witnesses. What do you think is the blockage for full disclosure? And because other countries have come out with the fact that there is a UFO presence and that there are documents and there are sightings. Other countries have done it. What do you think is the blockage?
Well, the blockage, I think, is really a desire on the part of a very small group in the United States to keep a lot of secrets to themselves and not to share them with either other people in their own country or with the world. And why they're doing this, whether there's a financial advantage to the United States or financial advantage to the oil industry, for example, of keeping the existence of exotic fuels a secret, I can't say for sure. But I'm pretty sure that there's somebody that's benefiting or think that they're benefiting from the power or the advantage, monetary advantage, of maintaining this exclusive little club that they've got, which knows a lot of things that the rest of us don't know.
Do you look at the whole extraterrestrial question as a benign question? Because people that are in the know are in two camps, good and bad, or evil and good extraterrestrial presence. How do you look at it? Is it not so that if it were not benign in some way, they may have done something to us long ago when we invented the atom bomb? Or...
Yeah, I think they're benign, but they're, as you well know, several species that we know about. And of course, the United States government sometimes has told people that there's one species that is not, but they never say who it is or which one, and consequently there's no way of checking it out without this kind of disclosure that we're demanding, because they may just be putting us on as an excuse for spending hundreds of billions of dollars to arm Earth against the extraterrestrials. And this is, I think, something that bothers me a lot or concerns me.
Tell me, so many people in the know, like astronauts, military people, you as ex-Minister of Defense, want to address this question, and even the Vatican has come forth and made the statement that the ET is our brother and sister. How do you think that we can approach this with the general public so that there is no panic and no pressure and no change in the status quo? Or do you think there will be a change in the status quo?
I think the public is prepared to accept it. Certainly if it is revealed in layers and not all in one fell swoop, because it takes getting used to. I went through this too. You start out knowing a little bit and saying, well, this is fine, and these people are benign, and they've got a lot to teach us. And one of the things that comes through loud and clear from all the research that I've done, that they are in fact more spiritual than we are, that we're less spiritually advanced than they are. And so we should look at them not as enemy, but as brothers and sisters, and try and work with them for our own benefit and theirs as well. But I think, you've have talked to a lot of people who realize that at some stage this UFO file was turned over to industry. And the U.S. government lost control of it. And ever since then, and it's a long time back, it goes right back to Eisenhower's day, and this was the reason he was so concerned about the military-industrial complex. He said that we should beware of them and keep an eye on them, because they would do things that were in their interests and not necessarily in our interests. And this, I believe, is exactly what has happened. That a small group of people benefit from this aura of fear. And you know Dr. Carol Rosen, as I do, and she worked with Werner von Braun for some time. And he kept warning her after he sort of mellowed that this industrial military complex had to have an enemy in order to justify such huge military expenditures when people are starving all over the world and dying from lack of medical care and so on. And he said first it will be the communists, and they had a good run at the communists. And then he said it will be the terrorists, and now they're having a good run at the terrorists. And then he said it will be the extraterrestrials, and now they're trying to get money to establish a base on the moon and do other things, which some of us feel is probably more military-oriented than it is scientifically oriented, at least as much so. And without really the American people ever having given sanction, they have no mandate to do that. No government has run on the platform of spending public money for the militarization of space. On the contrary, I think most people say, hey, this is a common area. It should be available for the utilization of all mankind and for the betterment of all mankind. But we've got this roadblock, as long as a small, well, I call them cabal in the book, who are the hardcore of the shadow government that everyone talks about, which I also talk about in the book, refused to come clean